It's an appalling amount of naked wood to just leave hanging out there for the whole world to see.
You are, of course, referring to the 5 unfinished IKEA pieces that I showed at the end of last season's finale fable?
Well, yes, darling. What did you think I meant?
Doesn't matter. Well, yes, I guess that was a bit of a cliffhanger.
Indeed. Shoving all of this wood
Please stop.
into everyone's faces.
Nope.
Just letting it hang out there.
This is a family show.
Well, I know, darling. That's why I think you'd better get out there and start covering some of that up.
Hey everyone, I'm Andy. Welcome to season 4 of Furniture Fables. IKEA furniture hacks. From Pinterest to TikTok, they are some of the most popular content out there. And really, it's no wonder why. With their unfinished yet clean, simple, modern lines and very affordable price point, IKEA furniture really does invite you in to customize their pieces to suit your needs. And hey, if you happen to live in an area where these pieces are available in the used market, and if you also happen to be a furniture fabler with a penchant toward themed writing, well, you might find yourself with a small collection of this very popular Swedish furniture. And hey, what better way to kick off a new school year than with a pop quiz? Or in the furniture fabler's world, a self-imposed IKEA hack design challenge.
All right, it was time. As much fun as it had been building forts and posing for Instagram pictures with my wall of IKEA, it was time to get down to business and start creating. I took apart my fort, moving 4 of these little Rast dressers out of the way and leaving 1 for our first project. Where I live, these little guys pop up for sale on the marketplace all the time. I believe I got all 5 of these for $10 each. And why did I make this $50 investment? Well, because in my opinion, these little 3-drawer dressers are fantastic to work with. Whether you are experienced working with furniture makeovers or a complete beginner, they are the perfect combination of qualities. They are solid, unfinished pine, so no worrying about blowing through veneers or old finish to contend with. They're not too big, not too small. They are lightweight, so you can literally fling them around really easily. They are free of any of the emotional baggage or possible worry that can come with working on a vintage or antique piece. In other words, not your grandma's antique desk. And their design is the most simple you could imagine, which means that you can take these pieces in any design direction you'd like. And I'm going to prove that by giving each of these little dudes a totally different, unique look. Lucky for me, the inside of the drawers of this first Rast dresser, let's call this one the freshman, shall we? We're in great shape. As per usual with IKEA furniture, we've got some screws showing. I don't think I'm really even going to worry about that. And let's take a look at the back of the piece. You can see how simply constructed this dresser is. With that bottom drawer pushed forward, you can see we've got nothing back here bracing the piece on the bottom base, just open air, which makes adding any kind of feet pretty tricky. And so while the rest of the gang looked on, I began. I decided to start by moving that front horizontal bar forward. With it set back like it is, it looks more like a kick plate to me, something you'd see in kitchen cabinetry. When you are working with IKEA furniture, if you don't happen to have one of their little wrenches on hand, you can just use a star bit with your drill. I removed the 2 screws holding that bar in and then put the piece on its back and pried that bar out. Then I went and I grabbed a piece of scrap pine that I had, making sure it wasn't too wide, and using that original bar, I measured what will become our new back brace. I used my chop saw to cut that down, then double checked that those 2 bars were the same width, and then I tested that new back piece. It fit great, so I measured out some pilot holes and then put in my first screw. Whoops, a little mistake there, but you know what? No worries. This solid pine will be very forgiving. This is why it is always better to be standing over the furniture when placing a screw, if at all possible. I placed the dresser on the floor and continued on securing that new back bar. Once that was solidly in, I did the same thing with the original front bar after I had brought it forward and also down a little bit so that it was flush with the bottom drawer front. All right, so here it is again in its original position, and here it is repositioned. I think it already looks better, more clean, a little more solid. In fact, I was so happy with how it looked, I wasn't sure about adding feet at all, but I was curious about how these 4 would look with the design that I had planned in my mind, and so I went ahead and I screwed them in. And then I took a look. From this to this. Okay, while I contemplated the power of shoes as accessories to change the look and feel of an outfit completely, I began a quick clean of our freshman. Because this is an unfinished piece, I was more constrained with my use of water, just using a damp rag to wipe everything down with just plain water, and then adding a little bit of simple green to the mix to help loosen any dirt or grease. I removed the drawers as I went, making sure to label them, and continued cleaning the inside of the piece as well. Even though I wasn't sold on these feet just yet, I decided to leave them on for now, and so I taped them off, and then I went and removed the original wood poles from the drawer fronts. so light. One-handed. And then I took the piece outside so that it could dry off in the last of the summer sun. Okay, time to prime. I stirred up my bin shellac-based primer, and then using a combination of a foam brush and an old brush that was ready to retire, I applied a coat all over the entire outside of the piece. Once she was primed and had dried, I gave that coat a light sanding with this rad pad, and then I wiped back any dust. So this is a kind of unique situation for me. For the freshman's design, I am taking inspiration from Fusion Mineral Paint's latest blog entry. It was very interesting. I had been kind of going in that direction anyway. I didn't think I wanted to use this very pretty wildflower rice paper in the design, but I was thinking of going with a kind of herbal, earthy, apothecary-inspired look. I had quite a stash of apothecary-style label pulls already, and this picture was actually taken before I saw the Fusion post, which is honestly kind of eerie. You'll see what I mean if you go check out their blog. I do want to give inspirational credit, though, where it is due. I was planning on having a painted top, but when I saw their post, I decided to sand back the primer, and also I decided to go for the faux multi-drawer look, as you will see in a second. In any case, after you finish with this fable, go check out their blog. What they created is, of course, fantastic, and their pictures are to die for, but it is borderline spooky. Okay, let's do some spraying, which means let's set up the spray tent. And cue tent setup music, please. Oh boy. Oh, okay, there we go. A spray tent is literally just like a camping tent, just with that very big opening and spray-friendly proportions. And it is a great way to save your garage or workshop area from paint. I brought the freshman in as well as a piece of cardboard for spray testing when I suddenly remembered those screw holes. Whoops. Okay, so when you have a full hole in wood furniture, it's probably best practice to use a bit of wooden dowel and then use wood filler to fill in around that piece of dowel. But the tent was already set up, friends, so to save some time, I just used a little Kwikwood. So now I was going to create that faux multi-drawer look that really says apothecary. I found the center on each drawer front and drew a center line. I had already been practicing with my circular saw on a piece of scrap pine. Here you can see how my lines definitely got better as I practiced. I set the blade at its most shallow setting, and then making sure to stabilize that drawer with my left hand, I carefully ran the blade over that center line. By the way, I am definitely wearing safety glasses and ear protection. One drawer suddenly looks like two. When I had finished that, I put all the drawers back in, and lo and behold, they didn't line up all that great. Of course not, because they are not sitting perfectly in the dresser body. Thanks a lot, freshmen. Okay, if this happens to you, don't panic. I just switched the drawer order around, honestly, and I found one where they looked pretty darn good. Maybe next time I will draw their center lines while they are sitting in the dresser. Okay, time to carefully cover up that wood top, as well as the 3 drawers, in preparation for our spraying. I also gave those new grooves a good sanding so they wouldn't be sharp for any little fingers, as well as hitting those wood filler spots. And then I used a little trimmed chip brush to add back the primer that I had just sanded off. Okay, I am using the color Upper Canada by Fusion. This really pretty green is a little bit different from the one that they use in their blog post. I'd say it's pretty similar, but maybe a bit brighter. I gave the paint a good stir, and then I added a bit of their extender. This will slow drying time, which is a really big help to me here where the weather is so warm and dry. You can see that Fusion is pretty much a perfect consistency for spraying right out of the jar. So I assembled my spray gun, did my settings, and gave it a good test on that piece of cardboard. My gun tends to spit a little bit at first, so I always start off of whatever I'm spraying. Everything looked good, so I was off to the races. Whoops! Should have wrapped up the bottom too. Okay, once that first coat dried, I came back in with a fine rad pad and gave the whole piece a good sanding. Sanding between coats is, of course, not necessary, but honestly, it's kind of a game changer. It really helps to give you a beautiful finish in terms of look and feel. I wiped back the paint dust and then sprayed on a second coat. By the way, here's a little tip, especially if it's a warm day. Lay a damp cloth over the front of your spray gun while you are not working with it. It will help keep the paint from drying out there up at the tip and clogging things up. Once that second coat had dried, I checked it out and it looked really, really good. I got great coverage. So I went ahead and unwrapped everything, and then I did a very fine sanding. This is a great opportunity if you see any texture that you don't like from the spray gun. Sometimes people call that an orange peel texture. This will really help to kind of knock that down. I really didn't have anything like that. I just wanted the piece to feel nice and smooth. Okay, what goes up must come down. I put away the tent, and then I got out my brass pulls. Now, Andy, you may be saying, you've clearly forgotten to fill those center drawer holes. Ah, friends, what you are about to witness is the ancient art known as eyeballing it. Because if you can keep factory-centered holes intact, you can use them as built-in guides for your apothecary pulls. And just cover those holes later with your adorable labels. Here you can see an important part of the art of eyeballing, the stand and squint. Yep, looks good. So to double check my marks, I checked the dresser for level. You can see it is pretty level with the bubble going slightly to the left, and then I repositioned the level so that it lined up with those new pull marks. And you can see that the bubble is in basically the same spot, which would suggest that my eyeballing worked. Okay, moment of truth. I put all 3 drawers back into the dresser and stood back and took a good look. And Yep. Yay! I think we're good. All right. Good job, freshmen. Okay, back to those feet. I decided that these guys needed to be painted at the very least, and so I took them off and gave them a quick spray with this metallic oil rubbed bronze color paint so that they would better match our apothecary pulls. While those feet were drying, I got out this Fusion's stain and finishing oil all in one in the color Golden Pine. This is a new product to me, but I've been dying to try it, honestly, so I was extra glad I had sanded back the top of the freshman. I gave it a really good stir, and then I just poured a little bit straight onto the top. And then using my chip brush, I carefully spread it all over, making sure every part of that wood top was thoroughly coated. I let that sit for a good 20 minutes, and then I came back in with a lint-free cloth and using even pressure and wiping in the direction of the grain, I wiped back the excess oil. Fusion says this will be dry in about 9 hours, and it takes a little bit longer than that to fully cure. I let mine dry overnight. The next day, I got out an extra pull, and using some of my freshman daughter's watercolor paper, which has a great weight and texture for this, I cut out label inserts for our pulls. These will look great in this natural white or maybe tea stained. Yeah, but I decided to go ahead and paint them in Upper Canada. And then while that little artist brush was out, I did some touch-ups on the sides of the drawers. Okay, back to the feet again. I decided I wanted to maybe have another option. I had something kind of cool in stock, as they say, but I was going to need to build up the corners so that I could mount this other option. So I remeasured that front bar and then decided to cut 4 3.5-inch blocks from this 2x2 piece of pine. I tested with a dry fit and then using a goodly amount of Gorilla Glue, both on the dresser itself and the block, I fit it into the corner and added a clamp and let it sit for about a half an hour. I did the same thing over on the other side, and then when they were both dry, I removed the clamps and I drilled 2 pilot holes into the tops of those blocks, as well as 2 pilot holes on the sides, making sure that the screws wouldn't run into each other. Then I hand mounted the screws and then drilled them into place. Here's another tip. Don't strip your screws. If your drill cannot finish off that job, stop and use a screwdriver. My husband is laughing at me right now because I am infamous in our house for not wanting to do this. What can I say? I like power tools. All right, I added those blocks to the other 2 corners, and then I took a look at these original feet we were trying. With their new darker paint job, I have to say I really do like them. But here is what I am really excited to try. These are these super cool Castor feet with oil rubbed bronze covers and locks, a great feature if you don't want your piece to be rolling all around. And you can see how great they work with our pulls. So yeah, I gotta put these on. After all, every freshman wants a new super cool pair of shoes to start the school year off, right? And don't forget your custom labels. Okay, do you remember our fabulous little freshmen? Pretty basic, a little bland, and dare I say, a tiny bit boring, but ready to break open those books, buckle down, and begin to learn? Well, here she is now. is in session. And friends, I think this freshman looks almost ready for tenure. With her smart brass label pulls, which could be kept monochromatic or highlighted if she prefers. She looks ready to organize by family, genus, or species. Her once uninformed and unfinished top now looks rich and wise with its studied stain. And her cool castors can take her from eclectic bedside nightstand to hip office accessory. Our freshman IKEA flip looks like she really makes the grade.
So what did this clever little freshman cost me? Well, I spent about $20 on paint and primer, $7 worth of that stain and finishing oil. The castors were $18, that was for all 4. The 6 pulls cost me only $3. Add another $5 for scrap lumber, foam brushes, rags, screws, etc. And the total cost for this very promising little student, $53. So what will I list it for? Well, before I decide that, why don't we wait and see what's in store for the rest of the gang? Better get out there. They're getting unruly. I sure hope you enjoyed this scholastically inspired fable. If so, please give me a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of class. And if you like a homework assignment, well, leave me a comment, please, and let me know what you thought. And to all of the freshmen out there, whether they be high school or college or just starting something new, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Go get 'em, kids. You're gonna be great. Remember what Albert Einstein said, anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Thank you so much for joining me, my friends. I will see you next class period for more Furniture Fables.